Okay, I'm going to get right into it today. Today's series of things I did not know. Apparently, there was this super expensive George Lucas series. Now, I might have heard about this. I probably did and didn't give it a second thought. Although I kind of find that hard to believe too. So maybe I just never heard of it. So I love Star Wars. But I will say, I'm not as into the weeds on Star Wars as some people. I know people that have read almost every single solitary book that has ever been put out in the Star Wars lore. And they can tell you every detail of every character down to the nth degree. What character do you want to know about? They can tell you. I'm not that far in. So I didn't know about this right here. And this is an article from comicbook.com. Now, the price tag on this is what shocked me, especially for the time that they're covering. George Lucas' canceled Star Wars show would have cost over $1 billion. And when you look at the time when this was slated to come out, that is absolutely crazy. Okay, the article says, to paraphrase Jedi Master Mace Windu, the budget will decide your fate. In 2005, Star Wars creator George Lucas made his first convention appearance since 1987 to celebrate Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. At the time, the saga's sixth and final film, it was there that Lucas announced that that two Star Wars TV shows, the half-hour CG animated series The Clone Wars, which debuted on Cartoon Network in 2008, and a live action to be set between Episode 3 and Episode 4, bringing the events of the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy. The latter would be as dark as its eventual title implied, Star Wars Underworld. That would have been interesting. It goes on to quote, it's quoting Lucas, says, I think we had over 60 scripts written, third draft scripts. Rick McCullum, Lucas' producer on the Young Indiana Jones TV series and Star Wars prequel trilogy, said during a recent appearance on the Young Indie Chronicles podcast, these were dark. These were sexy. They were violent. They were just absolutely wonderful, complicated, challenging. I mean, it would have blown up the whole Star Wars universe, and Disney definitely would have never offered, George to buy the company. And he laughs. Yo, why didn't they do this? Well, I guess that budget for back then, you would probably be hard pressed, but I don't know, especially back then with the fervor around Star Wars. Man, this would have been excellent. You know how you see these stories and it's like things that we would have gotten that didn't happen, that should have happened. This needs to be revisited. And when you hear what he's saying about the scripts, man, this is the Star Wars that I know most fans probably wanted. It's one of the great disappointments of our life, McCullum said of the series that never materialized, but the problem was each episode was bigger than the films. So the lowest I could get it down to with the technology that existed then was about $40 million an episode. Yikes. Yikes. $40 million an episode. That would have been crazy. But here's my caveat, though. Here is my caveat. Now, I don't think TV shows will replace what we get on the big screen. So I want to say that right out the gate. But are we approaching the point where a company could legitimately spend money like this on a TV series per episode and reap the benefits of that? Like, can they get a good return on investment? I think it's possible. Now, I'm not in the industry, obviously. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I don't know, how all of the different revenue streams and categories work when it comes to making a TV show. But I don't know. I would like to think if they put this much money into a Star Wars TV show, like there was legitimate big bank going into it, I think the episodes would have been great. And I think Star Wars fans would have, repaid in kind. I think it probably would have been one of the most watched sci-fi series in history. I mean, if it's that much money being put in and the scripts were good, which I'm going to assume they were probably good. It seems like they were really putting some work into this. Like they were thinking maybe there wouldn't be any more Star Wars films made. So let's make this TV show to bridge the gap between the two trilogies and let's go all out. Man, oh man, that probably would have been fan freaking tastic. 40 million per episode, 60 episodes, come with a price tag of $2.4 billion, or nearly half of the $4.5 billion that the Walt Disney Company paid to acquire Lucasfilms in 2012. In 2008, Lucas revealed he planned to do 100 episodes no matter what. I wonder what the breakdown was. Maybe they're going to get into the breakdown in this article. For comparison, HBO spent between 10 million to 15 million per episode producing the latter seasons of Game of Thrones and 20 million per episode on spin-off House of the Dragon, or 200 million for the 10 episodes the first season, which means even just a 10 episode season of Underworld, a tenth of what Lucas envisioned, would have carried a price tag of 400 million, a number that dwarfs most of the expensive movies ever made. 100 episodes run at 40 million per episode would almost make Amazon's costly Lord of the Rings of Power series look quaint. Yeah, 40 million an episode is crazy, but would it have been worth it? We can muse on that. I would venture to say, well, I mean, I can't say it'd be worth it. Man, you never know. This could have been one of those things that was a gamble that could have been a game-changing gamble, because I do think that movies are not going away. People are always going to go see things on the big screen. I think personally, but maybe watching habits would change. Maybe people would be more invested. Maybe this would be like an all-out event. Can you imagine if they showed, now what if they did this? What if they did this? Now, I don't know, because I don't know if people would pay. Well, it depends. What if they had these in movie theaters across the country? Like, maybe if they came out every 2 weeks with an episode and $2.99 for you to go to the theaters and see it, would you have paid for that? Yo, I think I'd have paid to go see every episode. And I would imagine, this would have had theaters jumping. Maybe that's what they need to do, something like that. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. We're trying to figure out a different way of making movies. We're looking for different technology that we can use that will make it economically feasible to shoot the show, Lucas said in 2011. Right now, it looks like the Star Wars features, but we have to figure out how to make it about a tenth of the cost of the features because it's television. We're working toward that, and we continue to work toward that. We will get there at some point. It's just a very difficult process, and I would imagine difficult indeed. If it costs that much, how do you get the costs down? I don't see how you do it, because the expense of these episodes, my goodness. Lucas added that the technological advancements of Star Wars Underworld would dramatically affect features because feature films are costing about 250 to 300 million. When we figured this out, they will be able to make a feature film for 50 million. So if they would have figured out how to get that cost down dramatically, then that would have dramatically reduced the cost of making feature films, which would have been good all the way around for everyone. Lucas first described the then untitled live action television series as a spin-off with some characters who have appeared before. He said the Star Wars Celebration 3, like on the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, we want to write all the stories for the entire first season all at once. I'm going to get it started and hire the showrunners and all of that. Then I'll probably step away. By 2008, Lucas told Total Film magazine that Lucasfilm had spent a year designing sets, environments, vehicles, and aliens for the still untitled live action Star Wars show, which he called a little bit more experimental. Reported test footage that leaked online in 2020 showed Underworld completely computer generated environments and the seedier side of the Star Wars galaxy. So this would have been like a more, I guess, if you could call it a more grounded, gritty, and dark series. Uh, it's a lot more talky, Lucas added. It's more of what I would call a soap opera with a bunch of personal dramas in it. Yeah, but there's got to be Star Wars, so you got to have some action in there. I can deal with the drama. I can deal with that, but I need some action. Where the original Star Wars saga was inspired by Flash Gordon series of the 30s, the spin-off series would have been more based on film noir movies from the 40s. Okay, I get it. I get it. He was going in a a different direction with it. I ain't mad at it. It takes place over 20 years when Luke's growing up. But it's not about the Skywalkers or any of that stuff, Lucas explained. Like episode 4, you hear about the Emperor, but you don't actually see him. People live in the Empire, but you don't see stormtroopers. It's a completely different idea, which is risky, but that's the only reason I'm doing it. Some people will inevitably say it's not what I think of as Star Wars. So who knows? It may work, it may not. And this in my opinion may have been what was the undoing of this possible series. You got to think, if you got investors, you got different companies and studios trying to partner with you for this, and you're talking about a price tag like that for a show, and you're saying, it may work, it may not. You probably not going to get much support. There's probably going to be a lot of people that go, yeah, I don't think we're going to partner with you on this one. I really can't be mad at them with about that. It did not work. In 2010, in a 2010 update, McCullum revealed that the live action show was on hold because we have scripts, but we don't know how to do them. He told the fan site Rebel Scum, they literally are Star Wars, only we're going to have to try to do them at a tenth of the cost of the movies. It's a huge challenge, a lot bigger than what we thought it was going to be. And I wonder if the technology and the things used in The Mandalorian could have been used for this show. Because really and truly, The Mandalorian was, especially I'd say the first 2 seasons, 100% felt like Star Wars, like all the way through. But it was different, but not in that it was a different experience. It was the same experience, but it was a space western, which in a lot of ways that really was the vibe of Star Wars from the get-go. It's a space western, a space saga, and that's definitely what Mandalorian felt like. McCullum later described the series as much darker and much more adult than the films, comparing it to The Empire Strikes Back on steroids. The Underworld series was to be set on Coruscant, the once glistening capital city of the galaxy that was home to the Grand Jedi Temple and the Galactic Senate before Imperial rule. Yo, that would have been dope. Star Wars Underworld would eventually be shelved, and Lucas would sell his company to Disney in 2012. Under Disney, the Kathleen Kennedy-led Lucasfilm would go on to launch the first ever live-action Star Wars series, The Mandalorian, in 2019. Which, again, that those first two seasons, my goodness. The streaming series, which also developed new technology, cost reportedly $100 million for its 8 episodes for its 8 episode first season, or about $12.5 million per episode. So I think, like, if they already had the scripts, like, where are these scripts at? Where if I'm Disney, this is just my humble opinion. If I'm Disney right now, I am reaching out to George Lucas and I'm like, hey homie, where are these scripts? We want to see this. We might want to go ahead and do this. Like Star Wars Underworld, Disney Plus spinoff and feature film spawning Mandalorian series follows a bounty hunter and is set in the often gritty underworld of the galaxy far, far away. Yo, man, I think they could actually do this right now. I think right now, if they wanted to, they could take this, find these scripts, and actually make this work. This is one of those situations where it's like, yo, you probably have something that's like a guaranteed hit. The way Lucas and McCullum are making it sound, this would have been a guaranteed hit. And if they still have these scripts, man, Disney, y'all need to get on this one.